rule of law is not optional. No selective amendments. No tribal loyalty. No elevating personalities above principle. Here, the Constitution comes first because it protects the citizen, restrains power, and safeguards the republic. Not a party, not a movement, not any person. No one stands above it. Not now, not ever. Power is temporary. Principle is permanent. The Walt Blackman Show starts now. This is the Walt Blackman Show. From the deserts of Arizona to the halls of the state capitol, where liberty is defended. The Constitution isn't a campaign prop, and the rule of law is not optional. No selective amendments. No tribal loyalty. No elevating personalities above principle. Here, the Constitution comes first because it protects the citizen, restrains power, and safeguards the republic. Not a party, not a movement, not any person. No one stands above it. Not now, not ever. Power is temporary. Principle is permanent. The Walt Blackman Show starts now. This is the Walt Blackman Show. From the deserts of Arizona to the halls of the state capitol, where liberty is defended. The Constitution isn't a campaign prop, and the rule of law is not optional. No selective amendments. No tribal loyalty. No elevating personalities above principle. Here, the Constitution comes first because it protects the citizen, restrains power, and safeguards the republic. Not a party, not a movement, not any person. No one stands above it. Not now, not ever. Power is temporary. Principle is permanent. The Walt Blackman Show starts now. This is the Walt Blackman Show. From the deserts of Arizona to the halls of the state capitol, where liberty is defended. The Constitution isn't a campaign prop, and the rule of law is not optional. No selective amendments. No tribal loyalty. No elevating personalities above principle. Here, the Constitution comes first because it protects the citizen, restrains power, and safeguards the republic. Not a party, not a movement, not any person. No one stands above it. Not now, not ever. Power is temporary. Principle is permanent. The Walt Blackman Show starts now. This is the Walt Blackman Show. From the deserts of Arizona to the halls of the state capitol, where liberty is defended. The Constitution isn't a campaign prop, and the rule of law is not optional. No selective amendments. No tribal loyalty. No elevating personalities above principle. Here, the Constitution comes first because it protects the citizen, restrains power, and safeguards the republic. Not a party, not a movement, not any person. No one stands above it. Not now, not ever. Power is temporary. Principle is permanent. The Walt Blackman Show starts now. This is the Walt Blackman Show. From the deserts of Arizona to the halls of the state capitol, where liberty is defended. The Constitution isn't a campaign prop, and the rule of law is not optional. No selective amendments. No tribal loyalty. No elevating personalities above principle. Here, the Constitution comes first because it protects the citizen, restrains power, and safeguards the republic.
What's going on, everybody? This is Walt Blackman. Welcome to another segment. What we're doing today, everybody, we are going to talk about what's on your ballot. As you know, we are getting ready to actually, a lot of folks have already started voting. Early votes are here. Our ballots are mailed out. Folks should have their ballots. And just want to make sure that I explain what's on the proposition. So, real quickly, I said this last week. I just want to make sure I echo it this week. I want to thank everybody for uh, reaching out to my family, and uh, your prayers have gone a long way. Some folks may not know I lost my son about a month ago, and I got to tell you, it's the community came out and just gave us a bunch of love and a bunch of prayers, and truly blessed to have friends like this. So it was really good it was really good to see that. So I am excited that we um, we have people like that in our lives. So that's really cool that we have that. Today we're going to be talking about the what's on your ballot, and your ballot um, depends on where you live. You're going to have your local folks on there, like your school board. You'll have your LDs, city council, so on and so forth. However, there are parts of the ballot that are propositions. And a lot of folks, when they get their ballot, when they're voting on the propositions, they just click because they're tired of it, because there's a lot of propositions. So one of the things that we're trying to do in the Arizona House is limit the number of propositions that go on the ballot. I'm not saying we're trying to keep initiatives off the ballot. However, we've heard a lot of folks that have, um, they just don't want to spend all day clicking those ballots like that. Folks want to get in and get out. However, if you are doing early voting and you are doing your voting at home, it's nothing to just get on your computer and just kind of see what the initiatives are. And it's important that you do that. Before we really get into it, we got some folks jumping online right now. Want to thank everybody who was here. Remember, you can leave a comment, and I will answer that comment back. If you are sending a comment on X, I can only read your comment. It won't send a comment back. So if you want to interact, send a comment to me, you can go to my Facebook, or you can go to my YouTube. You can go to my LinkedIn, or you can go to my Instagram. You can do that, and you'll be able to see comments. So we want to be able to engage on this, particularly before you all get out there and you start voting. Now, I don't want to insult anyone's intelligence. However, a ballot initiative is a constitutional right in Arizona that a group of people or a person can run. You have to have a certain amount of signatures to get on a ballot. And if you meet the signatures and you meet the deadline, then your initiative is on the next general election ballot. And we have seen in the past a lot of ballots hit the streets as soon as the election is over. Folks are out there getting signatures, or there's marketing that comes through, or there's ads that are running. So we have a ballot. I'm not sure if it made the ballot yet. I have to double check. However, there's an initiative against ESAs. So we need to make sure that, because I don't see it in the ballot measures right here. I'm gonna pull this up for you all in a little bit, and I don't see the ballot initiative right now. I'm going to double check. Supposedly they made the ballot, so we will check. We have quite a few ballots that you'll see. The most important part is to go out and vote. Okay, because if there's something on the initiative that you don't like, then you need to go out there and vote and understand what you're voting on. Number two, if somebody comes to you with a clipboard and something to sign, hey, sign this, don't do it until you know exactly what it is, because you may sign something that is will hurt you or will hurt the party, or it goes against whatever principles or values that you have laid out. So make sure you understand that you read those things and you don't just sign somebody's ballot. And that includes petitions. When a candidate comes to you and if you don't know that candidate, then you want to do your work, you want to do your homework on that. You want to make sure you take a look at that before you sign that thing. Now, again, I'm Walt Blackman. I am your state representative for Legislative District 7. And I've been off the air for a little bit. A lot of folks know why I've been off the air. I'm back now. We try to do this every Friday. Since we are out of session, I'll be doing more of these every Friday. If you want to hear my podcast, you can just go to the Walt Blackman Show. It's on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and any platform that you get your podcast from. You can go there and you can learn about the Constitution. I don't pick party when I am on when I'm on my podcast. I strictly talk about the Constitution, how it applies to us, and what laws we are actually breaking. I'm talking about the federal government, Congress, the executive, in the legislative branch, and sometimes the judiciary branch, the laws that are being broke according to the Constitution. So you can go to that, and that's the Walt Blackman Show. And a lot of folks really just go to Apple and podcasts, and they get it from there real easy. Can't miss it. Okay, so we got folks on. Let's go ahead and start on the ballot. The check the ballot initiatives. I'm gonna go ahead and pull this up for folks so you can see it. So I'm hoping folks can see that. You should be able to see it. Hold up. All right, it's a little crazy how it's small like that. I hope you can see it. Or you can follow along. If you can't see it, you should be able to see it, but you're going to go to Ballotpedia. Ballotpedia. It is www.ballotpedia.org. You can go there, or you can go to the Secretary of State's website. I will tell you that the Ballotpedia pulls their data from the Secretary of State's office. So you will be good if you go to that, or you can go to the Secretary of State's office, www.azsos.gov. You can go there and you can pull the ballot initiatives there, or you can go to Ballotpedia. Now, if you have a computer or if you have your phone and you're able to follow along, go ahead and do that so you can be able to check it out. Now, ballot, the first in a ballot, when you go to Ballotpedia, you are going to go to the Arizona 2026 state ballot measures. If you want to go back, you can look at some of those. But if you want to look at the state ballot measures, all you do is come on over here. You go www.ballotpedia.org, click on Arizona. Arizona will come up. You click on 2026 state measures, and this page will come up. This page will come up. Now, when we're talking about what is the first ballot measure, it is designated drug cartels, excuse me, as terrorist organization. So we're just going to click it. Make sure you're on the Arizona page. Okay. And this will actually tell you what's on the ballot. So the first, which you are going to see on your ballot, and I don't want to insult anyone's intelligence, which you will see on your ballot is an explanation of it. Okay, yes, vote supports. Okay, and then no, you oppose. You oppose that. However, you have to read what's in that ballot. So if you want to read in it, so this is one of the ballots, and this is the title to that. You just click on text measure. And this is the engrossed version that comes from the House. You can see that. Get rid of that. You can see this right here. Let me see if I can open this up for everybody. Well, I actually can't. So this is House Resolution 2055. This is one of the ones that went through the House chamber. And it's real easy. It tells you what that ballot does. So this right here, it deters or it prohibits folks that are in a drug cartel from, we designate them as a terrorist group. So if they are a cartel and they are selling drugs, they are considered a terrorist group. Okay? It'll tell you what it is. Drug cartel means an ongoing formal or informal association of persons in which the members are associated individually or collectively that engaged in the following. Those are the following down there: human smuggling, drug trafficking, so on and so forth. I really don't need to read all that for you. Okay. So if you are against protecting our kids from human trafficking, drug smuggling, if you are against the drug cartel, then when you get to this ballot measure, okay, you are supporting the legislation on your ballot. Sometimes people get them backwards. You are supporting the measure. Okay, so if you are against the bad guys, this measure enforces the law that we designate drug cartel people, individually or collectively, as a terrorist organization. Then you go to your ballot and you say, okay, I support it. That's how you do that. But see what happens. Some folks get in, they don't read the ballot measures, and they'll read it. And then something as easy as this, they'll go in and not having to read the bill, and they'll get this part confused. Okay, that happens. People get that confused. Okay, so that's the first one. House Resolution 2050. There's several of them on here. All right. After we do that, we want to go back and find the other ballot measures. Remember, make sure you're on Arizona 2026 ballot measures. All right. If you are not, I'll talk about the constitutional amendment part later. So the second one is LRSS, as limited local tax rate on groceries at 2% for base price. Now, what this does is prohibits local governments from imposing or increasing a tax on the sale of food items without voter approval, and it caps at 2%. Okay, some people call that the food tax. Some people call this the just a grocery tax or whatsoever. So something like this, there's been a lot of conversation with this, especially if you're in rural Arizona. In rural Arizona, I don't like taxes. A lot of Republicans don't like taxes. However, in rural Arizona, the rural communities live on that food tax. So before, when this bill was coming out, there was a lot of back and forth conversation with it because there wasn't a cap. Right now, all the local mayors and city councils, not all of them, but the ones that agreed on this, agreed to that 2% cap. Okay. Now, you don't have to, just because you don't like taxes, but you live in rural and you know that that food tax actually pays for police, fire, roads, so on and so forth, that helps. Now, let me tell you, if that were a no vote, if it didn't work, if it didn't get through, okay, they have to get the money from somewhere. So if they raised that tax, okay, or did away with it, then what happens is the county board of supervisors that live off of some of that TPT tax will probably have to raise rates on property taxes, so on and so forth. Okay. This is a food and beverage. Again, you just click on that, go to the page. Okay. It will tell you what's considered groceries for the purposes of this measure. It's real easy. Bread, flour, vegetables, candy, so on and so forth. Bottled water. Okay. Now, they can't raise that food tax more than 2%. Then again, you go down to the resolution. This is a House concurrent resolution. It will tell you what it is. Municipal transactions, TPT. Okay. Food exemption. Okay. If a city or town and other taxing jurisdictions impose a transaction privilege tax, and this is in the resolution. Okay. Now I will tell you, these resolutions are for the state. They go into the Constitution, and once they're in the Constitution, it's hard to do anything with it, unless there's another resolution that strips it, and that means you have to go get the signatures and so on and so forth. So if this passes, this goes in the Constitution. Okay. It doesn't necessarily mean that folks are going to be raising taxes on food in your neck of the woods. However, if they do, there is a 2% cap. They can't go higher than 2%. Okay. So we got that one. If you're taking notes, if you have questions, make sure you send me a text so I can answer your questions. Okay, the third initiative, okay, is the prohibitive of new photo traffic enforcement. Okay, so it stops the government from using a traffic photo, okay, of you. All right, without voter approval. So this is something that's going to the ballot also. Again, we take a look at it, make sure it's Arizona when you're studying it. Okay. And you just go down to here. The red means there was a change in the language. This is a Senate. I believe this is Senator Rogers. I believe this may be hers. Got to give credit to her. I think this is Senator Rogers from LD7, the senator from LD7, because she ran this a couple times. But in the short of it is that you want to look at it, you can look at the measure. You want to do that. And it would stop the state or local authorities from installing and using photo enforcement systems to identify people who violate certain traffic ordinances, including traffic signs, markings, signals, and speed restrictions. They can't take a picture of you if this passes on the ballot. Now, if you have a problem with the photo radar, this is what it is, photo radar, you have a problem with that, then you make sure on your ballot you vote accordingly. Okay? If you have a problem with it, you go back up and you say, I support this measure. Now, I don't want to insult anyone's intelligence, and I'm not trying to do that. What I'm trying to do is some folks, they want to fill out their measures pretty quickly. Okay. The next one, this LRCA, what it does, it prohibits the government from requiring an individual to endorse preferential treatment towards or discriminate against an individual on the basis of race or ethnicity. So a person can't get a job just because they are a Black person, Hispanic person, a white person, a female, or what have you. That's not the qualification to get you the job. The qualifications to get you the job are your qualifications. Okay. So we just click it up and it says the public education. Remember, this goes on the ballot, If it gets passed, it will go to onto the Constitution. And where are we at? We want to look at the text of the measure. Okay, it'll pull it up. This looks a little bit different right here. And I co-sponsored, I support and co-sponsored this bill right here because I don't believe that a person should be able to get hired simply because of who they look like. They should get hired based on their ability. And some folks may disagree with me on that, and I got it. However, you want the best possible person in there based on their skill set, not who they look like. My argument for that is always the opposite of well, if it's not there, then we're not going to be able to hire some folks. I look at it differently. If it's there, I don't want people thinking that I got hired because it is there. I want to get hired on my merit. Okay. And it's a great bill. I co-sponsored it. Let's see. Some folks will say, well, this is an anti DEI bill. It's not a DEI bill. Okay. Sometimes folks get these things confused. This has nothing to do with DEI. What this has to do with is that you will not get hired if you are not qualified. That's what this means. So if you support that, you support folks should get hired based on their merit, then you, on your ballot, click the one that is relevant for you when you vote. All right, let's go back to the deal. Okay, so prohibited school district payroll deductions for labor organizations, dues, and collective bargaining. What this is, and when folks look at that, they're like, oh my goodness, what is this? Basically what it is that unions cannot force you to join. You do not have to join a union if you do not want to. That's what this bill does. So you want to read the text, go on down, you'll see the text. Okay, who it applies to. It's targeted to schools. School districts may not use public monies or public resources to support the operations of a labor organization. Okay, and then school districts cannot deduct any monies involuntarily from your paychecks. Now, sometimes what'll happen is when folks join a union, they're required to pay some type of dues. And it's supposed to be able to help you through bargaining negotiations if there's some issues in your job performance and so on and so forth. What we have found is some of the dollars that go into the unions, the dues that goes into unions, what we have found is that they are using that money to do what they're not supposed to do. Okay. And so you look at the amendment, tells you exactly what it is. If you're for unions and you're for this thing and the union helps you, you vote the way you vote. Okay. If you are not for unions and you are against unions taking dollars out of your paycheck, make sure you vote the appropriate one. Okay. And remember, if you have questions or something, make sure you put them on the screen so I can read them. If you hear noise in the background, that's my nephews and niece. Okay, the next one is prohibit state confiscation of military families empowerment scholarship accounts. Now, this is the big one. This is the big one. So this is the ESA one. And folks really should be paying attention to this. So the state, it stops the state from confiscating money from a scholarship account for a student who is a child of a military family. A lot of times we have kids that are dependents, and the service members will move here to the state, either stationed at Luke or stationed down in Yuma, the Army base down there, or wherever they're at. They could be a recruiter or wherever they're at. The kids are able to use the ESA. And it stops the state from confiscating that money, the ESA, from military families. Now, I suggest that if you don't read any of these ballot measures, make sure you read this one before you go vote. Make sure you understand it. Make sure you go through the text. Okay? Make sure that you understand this before you go vote on this. All right? And if you don't, then I'm not going to tell you how to vote on that one. Do your homework, read it, understand it. If you have a question about this one, I need to see that question in my text box. All right? This is one of those ones that there's some nuances about it. We've had some discussions about this bill. We almost went into special session because of this measure. So let's make sure that you are doing your job on this. No, yeah, you're doing your job by doing your due diligence. All right. Again, if you have questions, put it on the post. I'll answer those. Okay, so the next one, this right here prohibits the government from imposing taxes or fees based on vehicle miles traveled and from enacting rules to monitor or limit vehicle miles traveled without a person's consent. Now, a lot of folks may say, well, what do you mean by that? I mean, what's that all about? So what's been happening is that vehicles have been tracked on how many miles they drive and some of the bluer states. We didn't want that to happen there. It's nobody's business how many miles you drive. Okay. And this bill prohibits from the government actually monitoring how many miles you drive. Okay. Okay. That means you can't do it. They cannot do it. So if your city says, oh, we're going to start monitoring your miles. All right. Sounds like my niece. If the city or what have you, municipality or whoever says that they are going to start doing this and this is on the ballot, then you need to make sure that you speak out. But however, most cities and towns won't do that if it's constitutional. So this stops it from doing it. Okay. And then you just make sure you mark the appropriate box. All right. Okay. Now this one right here requires certain school districts to spend 60% of its operating costs directly to go to the classroom. So 60% of the dollars that K through 12 get from the budget, 60% of that has to go into the classrooms. Now, one size doesn't fit all. Okay. And for example, if it's a rural school, it's harder for them to do it. So that's why there's a cap on students that this would happen to. So voter support's requiring that a large school district, those with more than 7,500 students or counties with a population greater than 500,000, spend at least 60% of their dollars that come from the budget to K through 12 that go directly to the classroom. Okay, if you are not for that, you just vote the opposite. Again, smaller school districts, they couldn't afford this. That's why they put those numbers in there of the population size. So if you live in Maricopa County, okay, this is going to apply to you. If you live in a smaller school district like Williams or Snowflake or what have you, this will not apply to you. So it doesn't matter how Maricopa votes. It doesn't matter if this passes and hits the Constitution as a bill, a policy, unless you live in one of these bigger areas where that would apply. So if you're not sure how much or how many people in your population or how many students are in the county, it's real easy to get. You just go on the superintendent website, the K through 12 website for Arizona, and you can find out how many kids are in your school district. And you'll be able to check that out. This is a real simple one. Either you want 60% of the school dollars to go into the classroom or you don't. Okay. I want to remind folks, and this doesn't apply to all the school districts, we are 49th in the country, 49th. And a lot of our dollars are not going into the classroom. Thus, parents taking their kids out of the schools to teach them at home. Okay. This is no reflection. I want to make this very, very clear. This is no reflections on the teachers. This is how the money is getting to the teachers because they need more of it. Because when we have teachers that are reaching into their own pocket to buy supplies, there is something fundamentally wrong with that action. Teachers shouldn't have to pay for school supplies that the school should be paying for. And this mitigates that. Okay, I don't see any questions on that so far. Let's go to the next ballot measure. Let's see. Requires school athletic associations restrict the use of restrooms, locker rooms, and other private spaces based on sex measures. So basically, this is real. This is another simple one. This is basically a no-brainer. It prohibits schools and athletic associations from letting the opposite sex go into an opposite restroom or locker room. So a guy cannot go into a woman's bathroom. And that applies to restrooms, locker rooms, shower rooms, private spaces that are not designated with their gender or sex. Removes the provision allowing any student, including females, to participate in any inter-sport, scholastic sport, or intramural athletic team or sport designated for males. Now, some folks, this last part right here may have an issue with that. Okay, because say your kid goes to college and they want to play intramural baseball or intramural softball or basketball. And they have the co-basketball and they mix the teams up. That's intramural sports. That's when there's a collective group of each gender in these sports. So it removes that. Okay. And that's something you got to take a look at. If you have questions about that, again, how would the ballot measure change sports eligibility? You just click on this And then you're able to see it, how that measure changes it. What's Arizona's current policy? Again, you click on this and you read it. And it'll pull up the policy. It goes right to it. It'll tell you the history of it. It was a lawsuit in 2023. And it talks about it. It talks about the law already. It talks about the court cases, the president cases, not president, but president's cases. And you can read all about it. And then it tells you what states are actually using this. So if we look at it, this is banned by state law. Okay. Some states have not banned it. California, Nevada, okay, New Mexico, up in the northern, eastern seaboard areas, New Jersey, New York, Rhode Island, Maine, so on and so forth. Okay, these folks have not. And you can see where they're at, what's happening in other states. All right, so we'll go back. Again, a lot of information, and all this information, as you can see, is pulled from the website of the ledge, az.ledge, okay, legislature, or other areas. Okay, voter identification and citizenship voting requirements amended. That means makes a number of changes to the state election laws, including that only citizens may vote in Arizona elections, and requiring voters to show a government-issued ID to cast your vote. So, for example, on my IDs, I can show you these because, so for example, if I want to show my military retirement ID, okay, this is considered a government ID. If I want to show my driver's license, again, considered a government ID. However, what I cannot vote with is a library card or I'm a veteran, one of those veterans benefit cards. Okay. That's a benefit card or anything. It has to be some sort of ID issued by the government. Either it's a military ID card, active duty. It's a retirement ID card. It's a state driver's license. It's a state ID. It's a passport. It's something that was issued by the government. Now, if you just go in there with a birth certificate also, you may not be able to vote in some places. If you have no ID, no picture, and you just go in with a birth certificate, you may not be able to vote. You may get turned away. Okay? Now, this takes effect next year. Okay? So that means a person can still go in there and not have a government-issued ID to cast their vote this year, this voting session, this cycle. However, this gets on it becomes law. Then next year, during presidential elections, you'll have to have an ID. Okay? And this is for all: absentee voting, citizenship voting, early voting, and campaign finance. You have to have an ID. You also need to make sure that you have that ID if you are voting in Arizona elections. No ifs, ands, or about it. Okay, now, these bottom ones, they are potential measures. So I'm not sure if these have made the ballot or not. Some of you have already voted. You may have seen it. You may have seen it. So I'm going to go through some of these really quickly. Arizona limited compensation for health executive initiative. This is a healthcare one. Okay, it compensates healthcare executive initiatives. So because of the excuse me, because of the some of the language in the big beautiful bill, some of that we could not get our hospital bed tax from the federal government. So this is an offset of that. Some communities, smaller communities that have hospitals there, some of the services had to they had to mitigate how to handle those services that they will still get, or they would have to try either send their patients somewhere else. What this bill does in those smaller communities, it allows those hospitals to stay open. They can run as normal. It's not going to affect those folks that go to the emergency room. It allows them to do that because what we have done is compensated that with other dollars to backfill those federal dollars that would come from the federal government. Now, interesting now, this had until yesterday. The deadline was yesterday. Okay. And so over 255,000 valid signatures were required. Now they may be, I'm sure they're getting counted now, and they're trying to figure out if they made it or not. Let me click on that and see if there's an update. No, there's no update. But this initiative was supposed to be in by yesterday. So it's potential. All right. It is a potential ballot measure. Okay. Let's look at the next one. Prohibits from receiving compensation from restricted persons, a state amendment. Okay. That's more of an estate, not an estate tax, but it gives those folks that have issues with their estates when someone passes away, the restrictions, it stops them from getting the benefits they're supposed to get from their estate. This is a real easy one. They needed 383,000. Deadline again was yesterday. All right, is potential. So they're probably counting these votes right here. I don't see anything wrong with, I don't see people are going to have any problems with that one right there. Now, this is the one that is the big deal. We had two ESAs. One, the state could not, they couldn't take away dollars for military kids. All right. So if you support the military, you support those dependents, then you are saying, okay, yeah, I want to protect military kids. I want to protect veterans. And that's a good one. You want to protect them. This one right here. Okay. Again, they may be counting these votes. So what this is, it requires State Board of Education to oversight ESA. So this one right here, and I'm going to tell you how I'm going to vote on this one, is a big, fat no. And the reason why I am voting no on this initiative is because it takes away parent choice. That parent choice of the parent should have the complete autonomy to teach their kids what they want to teach them. There shouldn't be any guardrails. There shouldn't be any, well, the government wants to play with this part. The government wants to play with that. This bill puts the government at the decision-making or at the will of your right to be a parent when it concerns your kid's education. So what they are saying in this ballot, and if a person just read it for the first time, they would say, oh yeah, it makes sense. Families shouldn't buy luxury items, and they shouldn't be able to go on out-of-state travel and dinings and amusement parks and so on and so forth, or buying home appliances. That you shouldn't be able to do that anyway. That is following the law. That is following the rules of the ESA. But this is a slippery slope, folks. Those folks that are bad actors that have done these types of things, abused ESA dollars, there's a law for that. And those folks are consequenced for that, because when they do these audits, they find out who is spending the dollars on books or computers or what have you, pencils and pens. And then they find out who's going out there taking luxury cruises. And then that turns into a criminal offense. So there are laws on the book that do this, that govern bad actors. What the left wants to do is to put these guardrails on this measure and say, we not only want to put this in the Constitution that will make it hard to get out of the Constitution, we want our oversight, we want to watch, we want to make the decisions on how you spend your dollars that come from the state on what you teach your kids. You might as well put your kids back in public school. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with public schools, because our public school right here in Snowflake, awesome. Teachers are awesome. The curriculum's awesome. That's fine. But we do have parents that put their kids in ESA up here as well, just like all over the state. And then there's a number of children that are in public schools for reasons because the parent, whatever decision they make, they probably want their kids to go to a public school, and there's nothing wrong with that. However, there is also nothing wrong with a parent saying, you know what, I want to put my kid in homeschooling. Okay. I believe my kid will learn more at home when they are homeschooled. Because if you look at the Parents' Bill of Rights, okay, the Bill of Rights for parents, there is something out there like that. In there, it says a parent has the right to teach their child based on the values of their home life. Okay? They have a right to do that. So why the government wants to get involved in that and strip that away from parents, we shouldn't be able to do that. This is a slippery slope. This is what will happen to this, because there's just going to be more piled on top of this. Okay? And there's going to be these guidelines. And there's something else I want to show you also. So when you look at the bill, let's see where you at. Okay, here we go right here. Read the full text. All right, now this is the measure. If you can see that, this is the measure. This tells you what it is. It tells you who turned it in. Protect Education, Accountability Now. That is a Democrat group. That's, it is what it is. And you need to read the initiative. If you don't read anything at all, you need to read this. If you want to protect ESAs, you need to read it, and you need to ensure that you understand this, because if you're just signing something on this, okay, and I'm trying to see if there's any loopholes in this. All right. And you may have to go to the sections to find out, because a bill can change from a may to a shall real easy. A shall says the state will do this. A may says a state doesn't have to do it. You can do it if you want to. But if you see something like this in a bill like this, that opens something like this to other policies jumping on this bill. Because what will happen is they can't change it once it hits the Constitution, but they can add to it. You can't take away from the Constitution, but you can add to it. And this, if this passes the ballot, restricting how kids, how families get their ESA dollars, this will not just stop with this initial ballot measure. You will see more ballot measures that pile on top of this. And this will start beginning school year 27-28. So kids are getting ready to go back to school. I think they go back in August. And if you are getting ESA dollars, okay, let me tell you how, and the reason why I'm kind of spending more time on this, because I want folks to understand this. Now, say this goes into say you're getting ESA dollars right now, because we're under the system that doesn't have this in the Constitution. Okay, you're getting ESA dollars, or you're set to get ESA dollars because the school year starts. You're doing all the right things. Okay, say this goes into effect. The Department of Public Instruction has to make some changes internally for ESAs. Now, say you're doing everything right and you're expecting your dollars to come in, this passes, then that agency has to try to compensate for what this bill does. And that means you may not get your dollars. Now, some folks may think that's extreme, but that is peeling back the onion, because this has to be implemented. And if they have to implement it, you're expected to get some dollars in August, September, October, so on and so forth. And then you don't get your dollars. You call up to the school or to public instructions, and they say, well, we're trying to change the system. We don't have enough people, yada, yada, yada. Then you're stuck like Chuck. You're trying to buy a computer for your kid so they can do math, they can do online work, but you can't buy that computer because they're trying to fix the system. They're trying to get the system caught up with this bill. There are a lot of ripple effects in this thing. So in my opinion, my kids are grown. My last one left high school this last session. So if you got kids in schools and you are getting ESAs and you have and you've had problems getting your dollars, or you are a good actor and you make sure you know this is something that you do not want to do. You do not want to vote in favor of this measure. Now, if you think that ESAs need more accountability, then you vote how you vote. However, what I would ask you to do, if you don't have a kid in ESA and you want to know what ESAs are all about, go talk to a parent who is getting ESA. I was able to talk to a parent. We have the rodeo going right now. That's where I was all day, out at the rodeo grounds in Taylor. And I was able to speak to a lot of people. And I was talking to parents who use ESA. And a lot of those parents count on those dollars to go to ESA. Now, what you'll also hear is that more dollars go to ESA than they go to public school kids. That is not true. That is far from the truth. Now, either somebody is lying to you about that, or they just don't know the dollars to the backpack. Okay. ESA kids are getting less dollars from the state general fund than public schools. That's a fact. You can go and look at last year's budget. I'm not making this up. You can go look at it. I did the budget. I broke down the budget some weeks ago. It will tell you how much is going to ESA students, how much are going to public school students. You need to look at that if you're not sure about that. Okay. But make sure you read this. Okay. Again, you can go to the legislative website. You can go to Ballotpedia. You can look at this and read it. Just don't vote this stuff and not read it. Don't do that. Because if you do, and this thing passes, there's going to be some problems with ESA. Some folks may disagree with me on that, and that's okay. It is okay if you disagree with me on this. That's okay to do. However, what I don't like is when folks are doing these ballot initiatives and they put the wording in a way where it looks like it's good. Okay. This one says it straight out. Restricts the ESA funds and requires the State Board of Education to oversight this. That means the state is telling you again how and where and what a parent teaches their child. Okay. And some kids don't need to be in a public school because they may have, they may not work. They may not sit well in a public school. They may do better at home. I met a kid today. And this kid is starting high school. I'm not going to say the kid's name. This kid is starting high school. The kid is starting a little business. Okay. And the kid is smart as a whip. He's going to, I think BYU high school online or something like that. His mother his parents are great parents. They teach their kids. They're involved with their kids. In that environment, it's good for that child. Now, there's some other things that are going on to help him get his ESA. However, kids like that, if the parent wants to teach a kid like that and give them the opportunity to succeed, then there shouldn't be anything wrong with that if they're doing it right. And it's important that we protect ESAs. It's real important that we protect ESAs. So everybody, I am a Walt Blackman, and we had some questions on here, but a lot of these folks are just saying, yeah, that's cool. You're supposed to do that. I got one from my sister-in-law. That's what she wrote. ESA parents should be careful when choosing schools as well. There was a school that my nephew went to, and she thought the school was going to be good, was recommended to educators, and it was the worst thing. And I'm going to tell you why. It wasn't because of my nephew. It is because they packed up and left. Okay? So make sure you are checking your kids' school if they are going to ESA. Okay? This is what I wrote. All right? But make sure, what does this say? Okay, that's an AI viewer. I don't need that. Oh my gosh, AI is watching what I do. The AZDCS oversight group. This is a good group. I'm going to talk some more about the DCS. Actually, I think I'm talking about it next week. We still have a lot of work to do. A lot of things are still happening there. I'm glad they were able to be here. Okay. All right, everybody. Again, if you have questions about what we're doing or what's going on, and you've had questions about this, please don't hesitate to reach out to me, I'd like for you to do that. It's important that you do it so you can get the right answers. If you want to send me a message or you want to see what I'm doing, the bottom of the screen will show you where you can go to my websites and find out what I'm doing. You can go to my Facebook account. You can go to my YouTube. This will be on YouTube. And you can also go to my Twitter account, and you can go to my TikTok account and see what I am doing for the school. I'm Representative Walt Blackman. I represent Legislative District 7. Make sure you understand your ballot. If you have questions about your ballot, make sure, please reach out to me. Don't think that you can't do that, everybody. Like for you to do that. And I want to ensure you that this session coming up, that we are going to make sure that we do the right thing. Please reach out to my office. If you don't have my office, all you need to do is go to www.waltblackmanazledge.gov. That's www.waltblackman.azledge.gov. And again, if you want to listen to my podcast, all you need to do is go to Apple, you go to Spotify, you can go to Stack, and you will be able to hear my latest podcast. I put one out once a week. Those come out on Monday. I just put one out this past week. Go ahead and listen to that. That's about the budget up in D.C., and a lot of folks are upset at that. Everybody, not upset at the podcast, but they're upset at the money that the federal government is spending. Everybody, this is Walt Blackman. Take care. I'll see you next Friday live with Walt Blackman, and we'll be talking about some great things. Everybody, take care. Bye-bye.
This is the Walt Blackman Show. From the deserts of Arizona to the halls of the state capitol, where liberty is defended. The Constitution isn't a campaign prop, and the rule of law is not optional. No selective amendments, no tribal loyalty, no elevating personalities above principle. Here, the Constitution comes first because it protects the citizen, restrains power, and safeguards the republic. Not a party, not a movement, not any person. No one stands above it. Not now, not ever. Power is temporary. Principle is permanent. The Walt Blackman Show starts now. This is the Walt Blackman Show. From the deserts of Arizona to the halls of the state capitol, where liberty is defended. The Constitution isn't a campaign prop. The rule of law is not optional.
Like,
no selective amendments.
When I get to the top,
no tribal loyalty.
I'll keep working hard.
No elevating
until I get to the
personalities
top,
above principle.
until I reach my goal.
The Constitution
Let me tell
comes
you
first because it
there's
protects
no
the
end.
citizen,
Winners never
restrains
stop.
power, and
If you reach your
safeguards the
goal,
republic.
set a bigger
Not
goal.
a party.
If you
not
get
a
to the top of the mountain,
not any person.
find a bigger
No one
mountain.
stands above
It's
it.
the journey.
Not
The
now.
journey lasts a
Not
lifetime.
Power is
From the start
temporary.
to the finish, it's a
Principle
real
is
grind.
permanent. The Walt
There's so many
Blackman Show
days.
starts now.